be a slight delay, but we will be starting in just a couple minutes.
Is this seat taken?
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I need to turn the microphone on. Yeah, that works better. We normally start promptly at 2 o'clock when we go live on YouTube, but since YouTube is not cooperating today, we're a couple of minutes late. It has been published on my Facebook page that it's not available at this time. Again, we are recording, and the recording will be uploaded to the computer later on. Sergeant Sheets, where are you? There he is. Are the veterans ready? Sergeant Boyd, are you behind me? You know, these tall guys don't like it when I adjust the microphone. Sergeant Boyd is the commander of the Chester Disabled American Veterans. Speak a little bit now, let's get the volume adjusted.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Thank you.
Any questions before we start? If we were on YouTube, I would say live from South Carolina, Rock Hill Post number 34. And the American Legion is now open to any and all veterans from World War I to current day. It has been restricted membership to only those serving during different war times, but now the American Legion is open to all veterans. So as a thank you for them donating this place to us today, if you'd like to be a member of the American Legion, whether it be this post or one at your home, let them know. It's only $30 a year, and it's probably the best $30 you'll ever spend. Our first veteran, Rachel Marlowe, United States Army, War on Terror.
Rachel Marlowe, Army, War on Terror. Rachel enlisted in the Army March 16, 1988, while completing the last few months of her senior year in high school. Her dad, who served in the Korean conflict, was a big influence in the reason she joined. She was always fascinated with his medals, weapons, and swords that he brought back from duty. His pictures left a lasting impression on Rachel at an early age. Many asked if she was afraid of deployment. She replied, "No, I am ready. I am excited to go and serve my country." That's why she joined, to serve and protect our freedoms. Be all that you can be was the Army slogan at the time, and that slogan was etched on her heart, and she lived by it. I'll do it all over again, no matter the state, nation, and international threats. For many are called, a few are chosen, Matthew 22:14. The Marines have adopted this as a slogan, but we know that it extends to every branch. To be called is an invitation to serve, but you must say yes to that call. Those who are chosen are those who wholeheartedly accept the invitation and its conditions. Rachel says it is an honor to serve her country, and her heart remains loyal to God, country, and the soldier's creed. Honor and respect for those called, those serving, and the fallen.
And I'm the one that set up the names on the seats. My goodness. Hey, it just goes to show that everybody's human, even an Air Force veteran. Just to let you know also, the veterans are being escorted today by the Daughters of the American Revolution, Kings Mountain chapter out of York, South Carolina. They can trace their lineage all the way back to our founding fathers who fought for this country. Our next veteran, Christopher Wenzel, United States Marines, Desert Storm.
Christopher took his oath into the Marine Corps on August 8, 1988. He went to boot camp at Paris Island. From there, he went to Lackland Air Force Base for his military police training. Out of school, he went to Okinawa, Japan, at Camp Kinder with the 3rd FSSG for 2 years. After that, he went to New River for deployment to Saudi Arabia and then Iraq. He was assigned to the MWSS 271 during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. He served in the conflict for 9 months. After his tour in the conflict, he was back stateside and assigned to the MWSS 272nd for the remainder of his time on active duty. He then served in the National Guard, North Carolina 1454 Transportation Company for 3 years.
Next we have Jack Wright, United States Army, served in Vietnam.
Jack H. Wright entered the United States Army in September 1962. He retired in July 1998. He attended the NCO Academy and retired as a Command Sergeant Major E9. Some of his medals include the National Defense Service Medal, Overseas Bar, Expert Rifle in M16 and M14, Vietnam Service Medal with 2 Bronze Service Stars, Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal with device, Combat Infantry Badge, and the Good Conduct Medal. His overseas duties consist of Germany and Vietnam. He received many letters expressing his military appreciation for leadership, morals, manners, and the ability to take up the reins when needed. He has devoted his life to helping veterans in need. Jack is a member of the American Legion Post 28 in Spartanburg, the VFW, the DAV, and the Association of Vietnam Veterans. Jack still finds time to work 2 days a month as a volunteer at the DAV outpatient clinic in Spartanburg.
Tom H. Crocker, he goes by the name of Ted. United States Army, Vietnam.
Talmadge Keith Crocker, nicknamed Tab, served in the United States Army, National Guard, from 1964 to 1970. His rank was E5 with an MOS as a tank gunner. Having served in the 60s, he received riot training.
Dr. George White, United States Army, Vietnam.
George entered Wofford College in 1968, enrolled in Army ROTC. He was a distinguished military graduate and commissioned a second lieutenant in 1972. He graduated from medical school in 1976 and entered active duty as a captain. In 1979, upon completion of his residency, he was next stationed in Würzburg, West Germany. As part of a family practice group at the Army Hospital there, they took care of different elements of the 3rd Infantry Division. He also participated in maneuvers with the division and earned the German Sports Medal. That required shooting, swimming, and a 30K hike. Finishing his tour in Germany in 1982, he was discharged with the rank of Major.
Now, before he comes all the way up to the front here, I've talked to this gentleman on the telephone many times. He is a doctor by profession. He is a young kid by military because I'm quite a bit older than he is. But as a veteran to a veteran, George, happy retirement coming up. Now here's a veteran that was surprised by his daughter. Joseph McDermott, United States Army, Vietnam.
Mr. McDermott has served on the Morris County Board of Freeholders. He received a Vietnam War Commemorative Medal, Department of Army Commendation Medal, State of New Jersey Distinguished Service Medal, General Assembly Citation Army, New Jersey Distinguished Medal of Service, State of New Jersey Legislative Commendation.
Do I have to announce this next one? I have an appointment with him tomorrow, and he's going to be burning cancers off my skin. Dr. Lapine, Gene, front and center, sir. I love telling these officers what to do.
Eugene M. Lapine received his medical degree in May 1966 at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. About 6 months into his internal medicine residency, he was taken into the United States Army, drafted. He repeated an assignment, requested an assignment to an area that contributed the most and was sent to Vietnam. There, in a primitive setting, sandbags all around, Coleman camping letters were used for supplemental light. The generator could barely keep the refrigerator running to preserve blood. The operating tables were sawhorses with makeshift stretchers on them. Gene was able to stabilize many casualties and get them medevac to a field hospital. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for his service in saving numerous lives. The Bronze Star Medal, unofficially, the Bronze Star, is a United States decoration awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces for either heroic achievement, heroic service, meritorious achievement, or meritorious service in a combat zone. His return from Vietnam caused him to notice that many patients coming home from Vietnam had various skin diseases. Gene continued his education to become a dermatologist. Dr. Levine says, looking back, I think my greatest satisfaction is realizing that even in very poor conditions, I was able to stabilize hundreds of war casualties so that they could be transported to larger hospital facilities and have a chance at life.
Lorenzo Gonzalez, United States Army, Vietnam.
Mr. Granados joined the Army in May of 1974, right out of high school. He was trained as a flight operations coordinator and was assigned to a medevac flight unit. Later in his Army career, he attended the Academy of Health Sciences, where he was trained as a medic. He has held many positions of responsibility in keeping our veterans healthy and alive. Mr. Granados was a flight medic, ambulance driver, EMT, medical supply specialist, chemical, biological, radiological specialist, nuclear, biological, chemical specialist, and was responsible for training fellow soldiers in the defense and deployment of said weapons.
Roger Scarborough, United States Army, Vietnam.
Roger Scarborough served from 1968 to 1972 in the United States Army and Vietnam War. In the 23rd American Infantry Division, 198th Battalion as a Specialist Force, Infantry Lineman. Roger currently lives in Beaufort, Georgia. Roger is a disabled veteran who suffers from a heart condition related to Agent Orange exposure during the war. His family realizes the humble man that he is and the sacrifice Roger has made and continue to make for the love of his country, and nominated him as a Quilt of Valor recipient for his service.
You're going to be sitting next to my doctor there, so make sure you don't hurt him. Michael Harris, United States Army, Vietnam.
Mr. Harris joined the United States Army in 1965 at the age of 17 years old. He was raised in Hampton, Virginia, and has resided in the Carolinas for most of his adult life. Mike, like many other Vietnam veterans, suffers from Agent Orange. Although his health is in a dire condition, he refuses to use any walking aid other than his cane. Mike was a sniper in Vietnam, was wounded, and has a Purple Heart, along with many other medals he declines to discuss. He said he was just doing his job that was required of a soldier. His sniper spotter, who was killed in action, is buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Mike continues to participate in many veterans organizations and activities to recognize and honor our veterans. He was awarded a special feather signifying him as a warrior from the National Indian Council and wears it proudly. Mike will be accepting his Quilt of Valor in honor and memory of all those who never came home from all wars.
Bob Roberts, Army, Vietnam.
Mr. Roberts joined the Navy right after high school. He figured joining the branch he wanted was 100% better than the draft. Good choice. After medic training in California, he was shipped overseas to Vietnam, where he served from 1966 to 1977 and was shot by a young boy of 12 years old. He was lucky. He got to come home and start a new life and family. He is now retired and volunteers in the ER at Piedmont Hospital, where he also trains most of the new ER volunteers. He loves his family more than anything and has never met a stranger. Let him see someone in uniform and he will always stop to thank them for their service. Ask him if he wants to take a trip and his bags are packed before you tell him where he's going.
Yeah, Al, from the back of the room, you need to get your mouth a little closer to the microphone.
How's that? Hoo-hoo.
William Pussy, United States Air Force, yeah, Vietnam.
Mr. Pusey graduated from high school and enlisted in the United States Air Force in June of 1966. He volunteered for and served in Vietnam from October 1967 to November 1968 as a weapons specialist. He continued to serve his community as a volunteer with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program, providing rides to treatment appointments for cancer patients.
Ron Barker, United States Army, Vietnam.
Mr. Barker was drafted into the United States Army in April of 1970. After basic and advanced infantry training, he was sent to Vietnam. Ron served 1 year in Vietnam and obtained the rank of sergeant. He served 7 months of pulling patrols in the bush, jungle. His last 5 months, he was stationed on a forward fire base, LZ Center, overlooking part of the Ho Chi Minh Trail, where he supervised an 81 millimeter mortar crew. He received the Vietnam Campaign Medal with 6-0 device, the Vietnam Service Medal with 1 Bronze Service Star, the Army Commendation Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, and the Combat Infantryman's Badge.
William McMillan, United States Air Force, Vietnam.
United States Air Force, 24 July 1969 to 24 July 1980. Rank, E5, AFSC 32871, Airborne Radar and Navigation System Specialist. Duty stations, Rhine, Main Air Base, Germany. Ellensworth Air Force Base, Rapid City, South Dakota. Osan Air Force Base, South Korea. United States Air Force Commendations, the Air Force Commendation Medal, 1 Oak Leaf Cluster, Air Force Outstanding Unit Award, Air Force Good Conduct Medal, 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, National Defense Service Medal, Air Force Longevity Service Award, 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, National Defense Service Medal, Air Force Longevity Service Award, 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, United States Air Force NCO PME Graduate Medal.
Our next veteran has a family emergency, but we want to recognize his time in the military. That was Randy Lawson, United States Navy, Vietnam. We will read his biography, and then we'll go to the next veteran.
Randy Lawson served in the United States Navy from March 1971 through June of 1979, at which time he went into the Naval Reserves. When he went into the reserves, he was promoted to Chief Petty Officer. He was stationed aboard the USS Hammerhead and was in charge of administering the nuclear training program aboard the Fast Attack submarine. He assured that his nuclear power-trained shipmates were properly taught, tested, and evaluated in their technical specialties. Upon his departure from the U.S. Navy, he went to work for Duke Energy at the Catawba Nuclear Plant in York County until his retirement in February of 2015.
Our next 3 veterans are very significant. First, we have James Canuck, United States Army, served in Korea. Korea has been considered as the forgotten war. We have not forgotten our Korean veterans. Maybe Congress has, maybe some societies have, but right here in Rock Hill, Quilts of Valor, our veterans, the American Legion, the VFWs, and the DAVs will never forget our Korean War.
James Knut went into the Army March 31st, 1948, and got out in April 3rd, 1954, attaining the rank of Staff Sergeant. His service deployments included Korea for 9 months and Japan for 2 years and 9 months. He earned several medals: the National Defense Medal, Good Conduct Medal, United Nations Service Medal, Korean Service Medal with 1 BSS. Mr. Knupp actually went into the Army before I was born.
From World War II, United States Army, John Parker, the greatest generation.
John Parker was drafted into the Army in July of 1942 at the age of 21. He served in the 457th Anti-Aircraft Battalion and was in the combat zone from Omaha Beach to V-Day. During his time in the Army, he served in Scotland, England, Luxembourg, and France. He received the American Theater Campaign Medal, the Emmett Campaign Medal with 5 Bronze Stars, the Good Conduct Medal, and the Victory Medal. He was honorably discharged in November of 1945. He has lived most of his 98 years in High Point, North Carolina, but currently lives with his daughter in Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Another World War II veteran, United States Army, the greatest generation, Harold Kershaw.
Harold served in the United States Army Air Forces during World War II from December 18, 1943 until November 26, 1946. He volunteered for the military right out of high school and became an aviation cadet. He was a pilot and flew training missions on B-51s and B-47s. He was stationed in San Antonio, Texas. What he enjoyed most was performing acrobatic maneuvers in combat formation. He has a brother that also served as a pilot during WW2 and 3 sons who served in Vietnam. After the military, Carroll flew as a commercial pilot.
We had a lot of tall men today.
This is Margaret Fralick, one of our quotas. Margaret is the widow of an Air Force retired veteran. About 10 years ago, she started making quilts for people overseas, for homeless people, for a little bit of everybody and everything. And she joined our Quilts of Valor group 6 years ago as one of the charter members. She's made probably close to 150 quilts for our veterans. Margaret, please lead us in prayer.
Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much that we're here today. And Lord, you know, these men and women that have served so good for our country, Lord, we just want to praise them and thank them for doing this for our United States of America, Lord. And we give you the honor and praise for allowing us to be here. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the colors. If you are a civilian, hand over heart. If you are a veteran, face the flag, hand salute.
First Sergeant, post the color. Go left, right, left, left, left. Mark time. Mark. Prepare to post the colors. Mark. Color guard. Halt. Prepare to pose. Pose. Freeze red. Halt.
Please remain standing for the allegiance.
Those who are musically inclined, please help me, because I am not, but I still love the national anthem. So somebody, let's get her started.
So
Let's hear some appreciation from Rock Hill Honor Guard. Please be seated. Well, first off, I'd like to say welcome. My name is Harvey Mayhill. I'm the Coastal Dollar Foundation representative in this area. My wife and I are the group leaders of Old Glory Quilters. We have about 28 quilters in our group, and 20 of them are very active, and the most active ones are with us here today. There's a couple of them that have had either an illness in the family or they're sick themselves, so the schedule may be jumbled up just a little bit, but bear with us. We will get through it, because the number one thing is to honor our veterans, those who have given us the right and the freedom to assemble like this. Are there any dignitaries in the audience? And I'm talking about mayors, congressmen, elected officials, military officials. If so, please stand up. Well, boy, that made that one fast. Our Congressman Ralph Norman did come by. He has another commitment today. He visited with each one of the veterans and thanked them for their service. And Congressman Norman is always very supportive of our veterans. J.J. Mattingly, I believe you have a presentation.
I'm J.J. Mattingly, Commander of the York County Veterans Advisory Council. I'll keep this short and sweet. I just wanted to, on behalf of all York County veterans, express our profound respect and appreciation for these guys here today, and for all of you for showing up to honor them. This is a really special thing that Harvey and all the quilters do, and it's something that is long overdue for recognition. And especially, as my friend Mike Harris said, it's to be in honor of those who did not make it back, especially those who could not be here. Thank you.
I'm proud to introduce our speaker for the day. We were at a DAR function, and she spoke a little bit about her brother who served in Vietnam, who's now deceased. I don't know if he was effective Agent Orange or what. It does not matter. What really matters is that he served. He communicated back to home. And here is his sister, Tracy Himes, a columnist and an author of the book, 99 Letters from Nam, that is just about ready to be released. And she has information at the back table, and she'll be back there to talk with you after the award ceremony is finished. I would encourage you to take a look and see what her book is about, because you're going to hear a lot about it today. Here's Tracy, 99 Letters from Nam to Mom.
You guys hear me? Sound check. As Harvey said, thank you, Harvey, for having me, and good afternoon. My name is Tracy Himes. I'm really honored to be here with all of you today. I'm especially honored to be among such proud and patriotic people who serve our country and have served them well. I'm here to tell you a story today about a boy that you may recognize. It is my brother, Larry Smith. He was my personal hero, and he served in the 1st Cavalry at the height of the Vietnam War in Vietnam. And he did 2 tours from 66 to 70. And just a little background, we were about 14 years age difference, so I was much younger. And when he enlisted, and we said our goodbyes at the gates of Fort Dix, I was just 4 years old. And so, being his favorite little sister, he promised to send me gifts. and he promised to write home. He promised our mom that he would write often. And he kept that promise. In fact, the very next day, he wrote his first letter. And I believe when they are published, it'll be the single largest collection from one soldier ever written. You all tried to write home, and you loved getting letters from home, but it was hard in the middle of a war to write that often. He wrote about, on average, every other day. And I have 99 letters from Nam. That's not the name of the book, by the way, Harvey. We've changed it to War and Pennies, and I'll tell you a little bit about why that is. But he kept his promise. He wrote us often, and those letters are really my most treasured gifts. He liked to give me gifts. And these are now my most treasured possessions. They're not my possessions, they're our family collection, but they are full of humor. They are full of tragedy, because war is tragic. But they're also full of love. And they made me realize just the depth of his love for me and our family. And it really is a love story. He spoke very little after the war about the war, as many veterans tend to do. In fact, my brother didn't speak very many words at all. He spoke 40,000 words in these letters, and in them I found a voice of a boy that I never knew, because when he left I was so young. And I also, over the years, have done a lot of research. I've met some people, done some investigative work, and found some people. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Through that research and those interviews and those stories that I got, I found my brother's valor. He was very brave. And I learned more about him than I ever knew, and I feel like I have to share that now with the world. He left us at Fort Dix, and then he went to Fort Rucker, where he wrote about 20 of the letters. In Fort Rucker, he didn't like that at all. Any Fort Rucker experiences here? Yeah, Alabama in the middle of summer, big bugs, a lot of heat. Went snake hunting there. Anybody snake hunting? He took his first ride in a helicopter. He said it felt like his feet were on the ceiling. So I guess they give him a little whoop-de-roo ride to get him ready. He talked about his new role as a crew chief. He was really proud to be a crew chief. As a crew chief, when your ship goes up, they call the helicopter ships. You're always with it. And he wrote, if that ship goes down, I'm going to go with it. And it doesn't take much to make a helicopter go down. He said one little twerk the wrong way, and that thing can go down, and that's a heck of a way to pay for a mistake. So then he added to Mom and Dad, I guess I better start taking this a little more seriously. To which my mom, I'm sure, said, I told you so. So he also said, I am not smart enough to be a pilot. I wanted to be a pilot, but I can't pass the test. When you're not smart enough to be a pilot, you end up as a door gunner. Any pilots in the room? Any pilots? They're the smart ones. There's one. He spelled it P-O-L-I-T. So that is one edit that I made in the book. Otherwise, I tried to stay true to all his misspellings and grammar. He fought in some of the most famous battles. He took over the Hill 875 in Dak To. He lived through the Tet Offensive. He had a couple Purple Hearts, was given some medals, a Silver Star with a V. But what I learned about medals was that there's just so many unrecognized acts of valor that don't get medals, and he didn't recognize them. He was part of a major search and rescue mission where he was shot down in the A Shaw Valley and surrounded by enemy Viet Cong and rescued with the help of his fellow commanding ships and also the Air Force. So it was a inter-military cooperation, and through my research I found the Sky Raider pilot who commandeered the whole search and rescue mission. And he said out of 240 combat missions in Vietnam in 1 year, that was his most successful. and it was also his first. He had been doing search and rescue for 3 weeks when he got the call to help my brother. He is helping with the book, and that's really an honor. He also shared with me some of his medals and letters, and I met, because of him, his commanding officer in the Air Force, who is 93 years old and living in Houston. So I was able to share the story and some papers with him as well. So that's been some of the journey, people that I've found. And I think some of the talk that's coming out of these letters are providing some real therapy and a few laughs as well. I found his very best friend from war. In 2018, I asked him on Facebook, "Are you the Richard Passer that my brother talks on and on and on about in his letters?" And it wasn't until 2 years later that he answered that Facebook message, and he said, "Yes, I am the Richard Passer. It was your brother was my very best friend in Vietnam, and I've been looking for him for 48 years." He had lost touch with him, and he didn't know that he had already passed. So Richard needed a little bit of time. He told me that he was going to share some stories with me, and he did. But then he shut down and he said, "I can't talk about it anymore. I have to put Vietnam back in the black corner where it's been all these years." And so I stopped working on the book. In 2018, that was the last thing I wanted to have happen. And in 2019, after about a year, he called and sent me a message, actually, when I was in the hospital, visiting my sister, who was taking her last breaths. And he said, "Write your book. I'm 71, and I want to read it. I want to help you, and I want to tell you what happened to your brother." So he is now sharing pictures and stories and his own medals and collaborating on the book. But it's special to have found his very best friend. Larry was a teenager at war, and like many teenage soldiers, he wrote home about girls and cars and beer and wild parties, and he talked a lot about cars. In fact, he was very, very specific about the kind of car he wanted when he got home. "I want a 68 Dodge Charger 426 Hemi 4-speed transmission with black leather interior, please." And when he got home, it was in the driveway. And Mom was interviewed by the local paper, and she admitted that she'd put 300 miles on that Charger. She said it really moves. I call my brother the rebellious patriot. He served his time with honor. He did his duty every day. He worked very hard during that war. According to Richard, they had maybe 200 formations, and the two of them were late for 198 of them. One day, he was a little bored, so he decided to steal a Jeep. It was the Major's Jeep. And he took a ride to Camp Evans just for a little joyride and had to hurry back before the gas tank ran out, but he made it. And then the first Christmas away from home, he was homesick, so he decided to order a new helicopter. He wasn't authorized to order anything. And Richard said had it not been for one digit he got wrong on that paperwork, they'd have got a brand new Huey delivered to his base. He was a very private man, and he came home to New Jersey, but he never really left that jungle. And like many of you veterans that have served, he struggled. He had a hard life. But he went on to meet a woman in a bar. 3 weeks later, they were married, and they had many children, and they have some grandchildren, great-grandchildren today. And he was a Boy Scout troop leader, and his son went on to be an Eagle Scout. So he served and also was a VFW member. And at his funeral, I gave the eulogy to a room full of veterans and Boy Scouts. I was very proud of that moment. I've learned that some of his quotes from his letters are sort of a common theme among veterans. One of the things he wrote was, you know, in this war, it's not like any of the other ones before it. It's a game. We don't know who our friends are and who ain't. It's just like a game of guess who. And he also wrote, if they would just let us fight this war the way we want to, it would already be over. Can I get an amen? Yeah, he was the voice of every teenage soldier. He tells a simple story of a very complex war. I learned a lot about his buddies and the band of brotherhood that is so strong among military. And I feel like it's time to tell his story because he never could. And I feel like it's time for all the stories to be told. You know, we're not getting younger, and I know that there are other people with medals in boxes and stories that are untold. And I implore you, write them down, tell a counselor, tell your family. We need to see your medals as your family. We need to touch them and know why you got them. Your legacy needs to live on. But we also need to learn, because of history, we need to learn from the mistakes of our nation's past. And we need to teach our children the real price of their freedom and the sacrifice that all of you make. You know, I learned that only 1% of our nation's population ever join the military, and only 1% of them ever see combat. So if that's you, you're a 1 in 10 million? I think if my math is right. That's a pretty special breed. The name of the book is Worn Pennies because my brother wrote about war in his letters, but he also sent me pennies. He wanted me to collect them for my college fund in my little pink polka dotted piggy bank. And I would be honored if any of you would share your story with me or follow along on the journey. The book is not quite done yet, but we do have a list in the back and some cards you can take with you if you want to just keep in touch. Find out more. I still have a few people to find, and I want to speak on stages to find more veterans to thank them for their service as I do to all of you today. I will leave you with some thoughts and just know that this is what I think my brother would want you to hear today. There is freedom in truth. You know, the truth shall set you free. And there is freedom in your truth, in your voice, in your valor, just like my brother, need to be heard, recognized, and never forgotten. So let freedom ring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy. Very, very good. I know you missed your brother, but you know what? General George Patton said at one time on June 7th, 1945, after Normandy, when he was speaking to a bunch of people in New York City, lots of civilians, and they were mourning our soldiers' deaths at that storming of Normandy. And Tracy, he said this, and this applies to your brother. It applies to all the veterans, all the families who have lost somebody. He said it is wrong and foolish to mourn the death of these soldiers. But we should thank God that such men lived, and we thank God that your brother lived for us today. Thank you again, Tracy. Do I have anybody backstage up there? I hear voices from the back. Are you going to come out, or are you going to keep us in suspense? I am. This is my wife, Lynn. She started the Old Glory Quilters about 6 years ago. We're proud to have with us our daughter, Christine, which is in the back of the room. We call her Christy. She's with the big camera. Our son Bruce sitting on the floor. He never got out of playing with blocks on the floor. He's doing the photography sitting down. Lynn and I have been married 55 years as of 2 weeks ago. We are enjoying life to its fullest. She has carried a lot of things for me, and she has carried me. And now it's her turn to speak and introduce the quilters that make this happen.
First of all, I want to thank you all for being here and helping us support and honor our veterans today. I think it's wonderful to see as many faces as we have. I hope any of you who went to City Hall and looked at the display, I hope you enjoyed it. It's our pleasure to put it up for you and to, again, honor our veterans. You've all heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a group to support Old Glory Quilters as well. And we have one of the best in the state as far as I'm concerned. Our quilters are passionate, they're devoted, they put their time, their efforts, their artistic ability into each quilt that they make. And you will see that every quilt is different. We could not possibly do this without them. Quilters, please stand as I read your name. Arlene Benson. Mary Ellen Tanner Vincent. Rose Smith. Dennis Kania. Nina Keller. Lynn Killian. Pat Nadeau. Their effort and their soul into the quilts that we make for our veterans to honor you. And thank you again, all of you, for being here.
This is Arlene Vincent. She is going to tell us the Quilts of Valor story. And it comes from one person, one thought that makes a difference. So when you leave here today, if you have an idea, you have a thought, one person, listen to this story, one person makes a difference.
In 2003, there was a lady named Catherine Roberts. She lived in Delaware. Her son, Nat, was in Iraq. And of course, she was anxious, she was concerned, she was just anxious for him to get back home and to find out about him, because you can't find out about him every day. They're far away and they can't communicate home. And so she would go to bed at night and she would just have these thoughts. And one night she dreamed, and this was a real, actual dream. She dreamed that there was a soldier. He was sitting on the side of his bed and he was just filled with despair all around him. There was just all kinds of demons all around him. He just was just forlorn and just lost. And she felt so bad, and it was like a movie. The next scene in her dream was that soldier sitting on the side of his bed with a quilt wrapped around him. And it just gave him warmth that he needed and comfort and just a peace about him. So when she woke up, she thought, that dream was so real. I got to do something. So she explained it to a couple of her friends, and they were quilters. And she thought, that would be the thing to do. I don't know where Nat is, my son, in Iraq, and I can't get it to him, but I'll make a quilt. And her friends offered to help. And of course, a quilt is 3 pieces. The top is just lots of different pieces. As my husband says, you take this beautiful fabric, you cut it out in all these pieces, and then you sew it back together. And I go, yeah, that's what I'm doing. But it's therapy for me. When I'm quilting, it's a therapy. If I've had a rough time, it just gives me a peace. But I also, when I'm quilting my quilts, when I'm sewing them on my sewing machine, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for the veterans. I'm praying for the ones that are there, actually in a conflict, or wherever they might be, whether it's overseas or whether it's just in that state or the next state, or they're going to come home that night because they're on base. I pray for them because I know that it's tough. My husband was in the Navy for 21 years. I wasn't his wife at that time. His wife is no longer living, but they were married for 42 years, and he was in the Navy for 21 years. So his first wife, he always tells me, she's the hero, because she kept everything going when he wasn't there. And so Catherine Roberts decided she needed to make this quilt, so she and her friends did. They took it to the Walter Reed Hospital, and they happened to give it to a guy that had just lost his leg, and it brought so much comfort to him because his wife was a quilter. So he kind of knew that likeness that they had in them, and it brought him so much comfort and peace that they started this Quilt of Valor organization, nonprofit, where people men and women get together, and they volunteer their time, their money, and they just make these quilts to give to the veterans. So it's as much pleasure for you to receive it as it is for us to give it. Know that. Because we highly respect our veterans. We highly love you. We might not know you by name or see you. We don't realize that you're a veteran unless you display it some way. But we love you and we respect you. And that's how the Quilt of Valor story got started. Now, there's organizations all over the United States. And Harvey, how many are there that's been made so far?
We are approaching 240,000 nationwide. There are 600 states. There are 11,000 volunteers. We are also in Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, and it talks about us going into South Korea. They operate under our same guidelines, but we have no jurisdiction over them. So one lady, see what she did? You can do the same thing.
Thank you so much for your service.
Denise, are you back there? Okay. Bring your quote out with you, please. Now, many times we have had various clergy come and bless the quilts. As Arlene was saying, she prays over the quilts. I know a lot of our quilters pray over them. So I thought this time, with this event, we would allow one of our quilters, who's a leader in the church, to offer the prayer and bless the quilts for all of you.
I want everyone to pray with me, please. Dear Lord, we ask that you bless all our military veterans, especially these that we honor here today. Their unselfish service to our country has allowed us to have the many freedoms that we enjoy today in our daily lives. Lord, please bless these quilts, which will be presented to these veterans this afternoon. We ask that the quilts presented today will provide not only warmth, but also comfort of mind and spirit when wrapped around each of these honored veterans. We also ask that you bless Harvey and Lynn Mayhill for their dedication to the Quilt of Valor Foundation and the honoring of our veterans. Bless the members of Old Glory Quilters for their time and dedication to the sewing of these quilts. The unselfish work of these individuals is what makes ceremonies like this possible. Amen.
Now, Alice Crocker is going to read the certificate that each one of you will receive. I have the certificates on the stage. We will hand those out to you right after the awarding ceremony is over. Your quilter that is sitting directly behind you also has the placard with your biography on it. Those hanging in City Hall over these past 6 weeks. That placard is yours to take home. We also have a star bag, not the ones on the back of the chairs, but we have another bag that is made from the flag fields, from a flag that never made it into a flag. They are discards, and rather than throwing it away, our quilters retrieve these from the flag company and make them into a bag for you to carry your quilt in wherever you may want to go. Although the stars never got to fly for freedom, they will shine for freedom in your home. And if you see a glitch in the material, that's a battle zone. If you see a star that is damaged, that is the wounded warrior, remembering those, some of them never came home. Alice?
The Quilts of Valor Foundation wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to honor you, though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America. As an expression of gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor.
Okay, I need a little stage up. I need this microphone and the podium moved off to the side, please. Somebody's got to be there. She is. This makes me think of the old 1920s vaudeville act.
You don't want him to sing.
These ladies will show the quilt. They will fold it over, hand it down to the two quilters down here at the bottom of the stage. They will walk up and wrap it around the veteran's shoulders and thank the veteran for their service. The veteran will then stand in front of one of these two flags for pictures. So I'll let you gals cue me on the names that you have up there. Hold on a minute. Who's our first veteran, folks? Harold Kirshner. Right here on the blue line. There you go, sir. Did you see your quilt behind you? Okay. Can I let go of you? Will you be okay? Okay. You can leave your hat on. If family members want to take a picture, get on up here and do it, because we're going to go to the next quilt in just a moment. Our next veteran is John Parker, World War II. hold on just a minute. Did you want to say anything, sir?
I just like to thank everybody here. I hope it has an effect on the rest of the world.
Thanks, sir. John, did you get to see your quilt? Let's show it to him from the front here. That's your quilt of valor, sir. He approves. Did you have anything you wanted to say, sir?
What am I supposed to say?
Thank you, and give that pretty girl a hug.
Thank you for this beautiful quilt.
The ladies that are wrapping the veterans with a quilt is the quilter that made that quilt for the veteran. We want the veterans to take these quilts home and use them. Wrap up in them, get a little chili sauce on it. Our gentleman here is James Canuck, Korea. That's your quilt, sir. Do you want to say anything, sir?
Thank you for
Any point. Thank you for your service, sir. This is Randy Lawson's quote. We will show it anyway. This is what Randy would have been receiving had he not had a family emergency. We pray that everybody in his family is okay. If you're the quilter, you need to be up here on schedule, on time. Rose, is this your quilt coming up? Oh, it's yours. You need to be next one. You need to be next up to help. Now, come on, right now. Now, you need to be on deck, because you're going to be next. I'm going to get the microphone to you and go sit in your chair. This is for who? I know, you're next, though. Bill McMillan. And you may go. I'm picking on Rose, I know. She's a very new quilter. She's never done this before. And by the way I act, sometimes you think I've never done it. You want to say anything, Bill?
Sure, I'd like to thank all the veterans who are here and those who couldn't be here for your sacrifice for our country. And I'm honored to be a recipient of this full medal.
Ron Barker. Where is the next quilter? Rose, this is your quilt, right?
Did everybody get a picture?
Ron came to our house one day and he was very nervous. Are you nervous now?
A little bit.
Is there anything you want to say?
Just want to say thank you. My friends and family, the ones that have come back. I'm wearing this for you guys.
William Pussy? Front and center, sir. Now, Williams Quilter has been called out on an emergency, but these quilters are going to love and hug him anyway. Did you see that quote? Okay. Alice, you're going to have to stretch there a little bit. Is there anything you want to say, sir?
I'd like to thank the Quilt of Valor Foundation, and you, Harvey, and Sharon Ford, and all the veterans.
Now, before you leave, Sharon Ford made his quilt, but she has also been the mentor to Alice Crocker, which is over on your right. Alice started out 3 years ago as a young lady of 82 years of age, making quilts because of her health. She could not do the things that she has been doing before. And at 82 years old, she learned from Sharon, from a younger generation teaching an older generation, and now they're both very good friends. Okay, take them over here for a picture. Bob Roberts? I think a lot of the veterans have already seen their quilts hanging down at City Hall. Bob, where's your son? Oh, there he is over to the side. Marty, you need to help back there with that quilt. Have anything you want to say, Bob?
I want to thank the quilters and my family,
And that young kid over there.
and that young kid over there.
That's his son. Next. Mike Harris. Let me help you, sir. Okay, hang on. Dennis? Mike, I know you're a man of 1,000 words, and I'm going to limit you to 900.
Well, it's going to be real short. I want to just, I'm honored. I am honored. The ladies, that's all I can say is I'm honored, and I appreciate everybody. And I appreciate the foundation, and I appreciate the ladies. I really do.
Now, before you go, you've got two men in this room by the name of John that take you everywhere that you need to go when you can't. They come to your house and check on you. John and John, will you both stand up? Roger Scarborough, all the way from Decatur, Georgia. Now, is your cousin who was the speaker? And she's your cousin, okay. Did you see that quote behind you? Yeah, you saw it the other day, didn't you? That's your quilter standing there. You want to give her a big hug? Go ahead. You have my permission. Lorenzo? Your last name again? Granados. Did you get a chance to see your quote down City Hall? Same one? Good. Do you have anything you want to say?
Before I lose it, thank you all.
I bet that's for Jean, huh? Dr. Lapine, or Jean. Is it Lapine or Lapine? Lapine. See, I wanted to make sure I've been getting it right, otherwise you're going to treat me wrong tomorrow. I have a doctor's appointment with him tomorrow at 10 o'clock. He says, get even time. Now, did you see that signal? Okay. Where's that beautiful bride of yours? There she is. Now, Jean, my wife Lynn, standing in front of you, made your quote.
Favorable attention I received there.
Hey, hang on a minute, Lynn, you need to stay here for a picture in front of the backdrop.
It's a stark contrast to what we received when we got home from Vietnam.
And this is part of the welcome home. Now we pause for an intermission. So those of you who are of my age or older will know what I'm talking about. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a Coke and popcorn and peanuts and Cracker Jacks. Why am I dating myself? Hey, where's that quote? If they don't bring it out, I'll start singing the jingle again. Bring it out, bring it out. Who's this? Joseph McDermott, come on up here, sir. Right there. Now, your daughter was Miss what, South Carolina? Okay. And she's standing right in the middle there. And have you seen your quote, sir? Okay. Do you have anything you want to say?
And especially to my daughter.
Clay, better known as George. Come on up here, sir. Now, that lady behind you is the one who made your quilt, and I know she's a patient of yours. She's also my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, so please be good to her. Okay. Did you get a chance to see your quilt at City Hall? Squat down, sir. You are tall. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Just wanted to say that I did not serve a career in the military, but the military had a great deal of influence on my career as a physician. In the past 37 years, I've practiced medicine here in Rock Hill. And for over 20 of those years, I had 5 associates that were all former Army doctors. And it was a very special relationship. I'm retiring in about a week and a half, and my replacement is retired Air Force.
Pat Carter. I think you know who made your quilt, don't you? On the blue line. And did you get a chance to see your quilt before today? For those of you who may not know, these quilts have been hanging in City Hall Rotunda in Rock Hill. We've had a 6-week display, 3 quilts per week. The veterans have had the opportunity to go and see them. Did you have anything you wanted to say, sir? Thank all the quilters and all the veterans here. Jack Wright? I'm looking at you and called his name.
The quilter that made this quilt is not here today, so these 2 quilters are standing in.
And who was that quilter? Willa Teal. Jack, did you want to say anything?
Yes, it is indeed an honor to receive the Quilt of Valor. And I would like to thank my fellow veterans that are here today, those that came from the American Legion posts to be here today. And especially those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, and I definitely will wear this in your honor. And my wife, Barbara, who nominated me for this Quilt of Valor. My family, my daughter-in-law, and son-in-law that are here today. Thank you so very much for coming. And especially to the quilters and this wonderful organization. It is indeed an honor, and I'm honored today to be a recipient. Thank you very much.
Will you help him get a picture over here, please, Janice? Hi, Chris. Did you get a chance to see your quilt down at City Hall? What kind of work do you do? Okay, if you have a construction worker working for you, give him a little time off. That's your quilt, sir. Anything you want to say?
I worked for the four that didn't come home, that sent me home.
Rachel Marlowe. James and Annette, are you in there? There you are. Is James with you? Where? Now, is James your brother right there? James, come on up here. James has served in a different capacity. He has been a police officer. I'm going to ask him to assist in wrapping his sister with the coat of valor. Do you have anything you want to say?
I want to thank everyone here, my family, my brother, of course, and all the veterans and all of you that came out to support us today. Appreciate it. All the quilters that put this labor of love into these quilts for us. I will wear this proudly daily. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you, Lynn.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are 20 million veterans in the United States. Of those 20 million, close to 2 million are female veterans. Never forget, when you see a veteran in the mall or Home Depot or Lowe's, wherever you may shop, and you say thank you to that veteran, make sure you ask his spouse or the lady that's with him if she is a veteran too, because you never know. And we don't want to forget them. The President of the United States on October 31st signed a proclamation. That proclamation states that the month of November is the Spouse and Family Recognition Month for all of our veterans in the United States. So if you are a spouse or a family member of a veteran, please stand up now. Thank you for your support while our veterans have been deployed and in battle. And you are the reason that they had to come home, because they knew that they had a loved one there waiting for them. The spouses stay at home, the family members, the kids. They fix the lawnmower, they fix the refrigerator, they mow the grass, they shovel the snow. They're the ones that do all the work while the veteran is deployed doing what they do for freedom. So this is your month, and on behalf of the veterans in this area, on behalf of the Governor of McMaster and on behalf of the President of the United States, thank you for supporting and serving our veterans. There are 3 groups of the Quilts of Valor Foundation out of the 600 groups in the United States that are partners with the Vietnam War commemoration. We are partners with that commemoration, and as such, I can say the following, but I'm going to say it in a little bit. First, I'm going to tell you about it. 12 years ago, the thought came about. 3 presidents ago. 2 presidents ago, it became an act of Congress. 7 years ago, the Vietnam War commemoration was brought into light. And they're saying that those who served between 1955 and 1975, from the time we went into Laos to the time that we came out of Vietnam, is a Vietnam veteran. Now, whether you serve boots on the ground in country or not, we want to make sure that all veterans get a proper welcome home. So first, I'm going to go to the Vietnam veterans that are in the front row. I'm going to present them with a Vietnam Veteran Commemoration Pin. All other Vietnam veterans who have not received a Vietnam Commemoration Pin, I would like for you to go down the wall side over here come across the front and receive a pin. I'm going to ask Butch, Dave, and Jeff to assist me up front. These gentlemen have served during those periods of time, and it would be an honor to have you up here to shake these veterans' hands and assist me in presenting the pins. So would you please come up? I need somebody with pin trays. I see that. Lynn, they're behind the stage here. Yeah. Lynn, they're right up front here. You come on down. Come on down. Butch has got it. Come on down. Hey, go the other way. It's shorter. That's what you get when you go live, unrehearsed.
Sorry. Hard to get good help, honey.
You have one train of thought? I will mention this one time. This applies to every Vietnam veteran in here. As a partner of the Vietnam War Commemoration, on behalf of the President of the United States, the Department of Defense, and a grateful nation, we present to you for your acceptance this commemorative pin as a small token of your service and sacrifice, and this being your official welcome home from the United States of America. Vietnam veterans, line up and come on right across here. Anybody in the audience that's a Vietnam veteran, please come up. If you served between 1955 and 1975, that qualifies you for one of these pins. World War II veterans, the greatest generation, you received ticker tape parades coming home. Thank you for your service. You had less than desirable conditions when you came home. You've not been forgotten. Thank you for your service. The war on terror and the Desert Storm. Desert Storm, thank you for bridging the gap. Therefore, you were in during the war on terror. Thank you for your service of continuing the legacy of these older gentlemen up here. Vietnam veterans, I want you to listen to this audience. Audience, I want you to say 2 words. And I want you to be able to say those loud enough that they can hear them in downtown Rock Hill. Those 2 words will be welcome home. 1, 2, 3. There you go, gentlemen. That concludes the Qov Rock Hill presentation. And now here to tell you a little bit about how we touch lives. We had a young lady that we touched her life about 1.5 years ago. When she didn't show up for her presentation of a Qov Valor, which was a surprise, we sent somebody out to her house to get her. She came in, bloodshot eyes, tears. She looked terrible. Because when they brought her from her home, she was crying, trying to get up the courage to pull the trigger on the gun that was laying in front of her. She now is recovering, and she is in Florida. She was going to be here today, but she had a car accident. She's okay, but her car is very, very bad. As I was talking to a friend of mine who received a Qov Valor recently, he said, I'll go pick her up. And I said, you know, she lives in Miami, Florida. He said, I don't think I can do that. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do in her absence. The man's name is Dennis Norman. Dennis was a Army Special Forces Ranger. I could tell you his story. I'm going to tell you very simply. He's in the same position as where Brittany Threed was 1.5 years ago when she almost took her life. And here to tell you about his life and how friends, total strangers, and the Qov Valor has assisted him. And Jeff, would you please stand up? Arlene, would you please stand up? Jeff and Arlene was at Roger's house presenting him a Qov Valor, and you don't know that you stopped him from committing suicide, and here is Dennis Norman right now.
You know, this is a moment where we've all been real, and I can't make it any realer than what it already is. But there's something I was asking. I asked somebody the other day, I said, how do you talk to 400 people? And he said, well, tell a joke. I can't tell a joke to save my life. It's not me. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. But I do know about being a veteran. I operate in the shadows. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm quiet. My wife denies that fact. She says I'll talk to anybody and everybody, and I don't meet a stranger. That's because I have retained and regained my identity. I had put a 9mm gun in my mouth and pulled the trigger, and God intervened. It did not fire. The bullet did not go off. Reloaded it, took it outside, and it shot in the ground. Everybody would think that was the end of the story. No, it's not. Each person has a story. due to different perspectives, choices, and results in different scenarios. Not all are good, not all are bad, but everybody has a story. How many of you have actually played poker or spades here? You got dealt a card hand. Well, you didn't just fold it up and put it away. You actually played that hand to try to win, right? That's what I was trying to do. The goal still remains to be the best, to win at any cost. In the military, I learned I was mission-based. I accomplished the mission. No matter what it was, no matter what the cost, accomplished the mission. Well, I came to my senses and I sought help. The VA has been working with me, but I still have demons that come in the stillness and the dark. And at the time, I was contemplating suicide again. Even being a pastor, I was contemplating taking my life. I had already had 2 of my team members that had taken their lives. And I was in the dark. The monsters come in the dark. But at that time, Harvey Mayhill, Quilts of Valor, contacted me, and we set up my Quilt of Valor ceremony. Y'all don't know, you know, when you go through PTSD, you lose your identity. You don't know who you are. You're going through situations and things that you're not in control of your life anymore. You think you're in control. You believe you're in control, but you're not. But you know, just like the gentleman that come beside you, you can't do it alone. We tried. I had to learn that the hard way. And I learned it through Quilts of Valor. I learned it through you. I learned it through you. Coming over to my house, a stranger, and giving me a Quilt of Valor. I didn't deserve it. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't trying to accomplish anything. I served during the Cold War. But I served 10 years and tried to do the best that I could. I've got plenty of awards and medals and certificates, but that wasn't what it was about. I was called to do my duty. That's all I wanted to do. In fact, my Quilt of Valor is in my truck. It goes with me. When I travel, my Quilt of Valor goes with me. That's the highest award, as far as I'm concerned, I could ever have gotten, because it's appreciation of a veteran. Y'all use that quilt. It'll comfort you in the times when you feel all alone. You wrap it around you. You're not alone no more. I walked the cemetery in Arlington back in April. It really hurt walking those hallowed grounds, knowing that so many people had died. And the people that are sitting here, the time period that y'all covered, and the welcome home that you did not get. They welcomed us home clapping and celebrating. That's not right. I have a saying, the military has a saying, no one left behind. Well, there's a verse that I've adopted. I'm a pastor now. In 2 Peter 3:9, it says, the Lord does not treat his kingdom like a dutiful chore, as some people consider it, like the treatment of a temporary laborer, but he pours out his Spirit on your behalf, since he does not wish that anyone should perish, but that everyone should come into grace. He wants everybody to come to heaven. He wants every one of us to be saved. He wants nobody left behind. Take time to listen and care for those that you come in contact. You never know what they're going through. Each one has a story. Lend an ear, listen to them. You don't have to have all the answers, nobody does. But just take the time to listen to their story. You'd be surprised at what you learn by the individuals that you come into contact with. I want to leave people better after I meet them than how I found them. And I hope that's the calling on my life now. I try to prevent soldier suicide, prevent other veterans from taking their lives. You know, we were always taught that was an act of a coward. You know, when you feel all alone, that's what it feels like, is you're all alone, but you're not. We're in this thing together. We as veterans adopt the phrase, leave no man behind, but let's do our due diligence in keeping that at the forefront and lessen veteran suicide. It's a national problem, and we need to fix it. But the Quilt of Valor is fixing it because it took it away from me. I realize people care, people that I don't even know. And thank y'all. Thank you, veterans. Thank all of you.
Lynn, would you get the certificates and the star bags? Let's get those distributed and then we can adjourn. I've got the certificates down here. You need, well, they are, yes. While they are distributing these, I will just finish up with a few things. A little thing that I have coined here a couple of years ago that I'd like to share with folks. If you've been there, no explanation is necessary. If you've not been there, no explanation is possible. When you visit with your family and your relatives and your veterans, ask them to share some stories, but do not try to pry out of them the bad stories, the battles, the scars. These veterans will take to their grave the bad things that they have seen and had to do to protect your innocence of our freedom. Whether they served in country or not, some of them do carry some demons and baggage. And that's called a guilt complex, of which I have, I admit it. I feel very guilty that I did not have to go into battle, but I also feel very glad that I did not. Sir, how old are you? 93 years old. You were in the Army when you were what age? You were 18? 18 years old. And he had probably command of several millions of dollars worth of equipment. He made decisions that changed people's lives. What are the young people doing today to stand up to his legacy? I ask that of anybody under the age of 25. Not saying that you're doing anything wrong. I'm just asking you to take a look and reflect upon yourself as to what you can do to continue the freedom of the great United States of America. When we leave today, you'll go shopping for Christmas, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or what the heck ever you celebrate. I celebrate them all. I'm not prejudiced. I like them all. I like to party. When you see a veteran and you say thank you for your service, I just had some cards printed. I was hoping they would be here, but they won't be here until tomorrow. And it simply says this. When a person says thank you for your service to me, I'm going to hand them one of these cards. And it simply says, I appreciate your thank you. To thank a veteran, be the kind of American, live your freedom, and be the kind of American that a veteran would die for. So when you leave here, go out there and be the kind of American that these gentlemen up here would be willing to die for. They at one time signed a blank check, payable to, up and including their life. That check was for the United States of America. Lanny cashed in, didn't he? Lanny was your spotter as you were a sniper. He took the bullet. His check was cashed. Gentlemen, one of these days, we are all going to be where Lanny is today. And that's and beyond. And when we do go, we hope that your children or your grandchildren hold up your quilt of valor and they say, my God, look at this rag. Grandma and Grandpa really love their quilt of valor. We want you to use it. Don't put it away in a closet. Share it. Snuggle up under it. And Dr. Levine, I know you and your wife just love to snuggle. See, she tells me things before you come into that examination. George, I don't know about you. You're retiring. Are we getting them done?
We're getting there. Yeah, we're working on it.
Each one of the veterans should have received the placard also that was at City Hall. Arlene, you have the veterans placard. Make sure he gets that, please. Okay. If you should have any comments or questions, please ask any of the quilters, any of the volunteers, and the gentlemen that are sitting in the back. We know that you have a lot of things that you could have done today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come here. These backdrops will stay up for a little bit. Take a picture with your family, your veteran. Visit with the veteran and say thank you for your service. Give him a hug. Because I tell you what, come here, Ron. I don't care who you are. Tall, short, black, white, pink, yellow, green, man, woman. What, yeah, candy stripe or whatever religion you are. You're in a foxhole. You're asking for either God or for your mother to get your butt out of there. You're scared. You've wrapped your arms around your buddy with you. You wrap your arms around him. And real men hug. Don't be afraid to give these men a hug. Is there anything else? I'm in trouble now.
When I introduced the Old Glory Quilters, I neglected to do one thing, and I don't want to go home without doing that. We also have to thank some spouses of our quilters because they step in whenever we need some muscle or people that they set up all the chairs here today, and they're always helping us. The gentlemen that were up here in the front, plus there are several others in the audience today that deserve recognition. So Butch Sheets. Dave Vincent. Stand up. Jeff Vincent. Claire Buckley. And we have Cal Bolton over here who helps us take pictures. Frank Pena. I think I got all of you. I want to thank you because we really depend on you and you do a great job for us and you deserve recognition. Thank you very much.
And there's two other people in the audience that I would like to acknowledge at this time, and a lot of times they can help us with our events. They are performers, and one of them has started what's called the Patriotic Ladies of Rock Hill. Christine Nelson, please stand up. Stay standing. Jeanette Barlow, stay standing. They and two other ladies wear a typical uniform of the USO ladies from World War II and Korea. They perform, they sing, they do sign language, they hug our veterans, they put on lipstick and kiss them. My goodness, I'm missing all those lips today. But due to some illnesses, they did not perform. And we appreciate you at least even coming. My goodness. And that, you used to perform with Brenda Lee in Nashville. And Christine, her father is a Marine, and he's in, where now, the Philippines?
Thailand.
Thailand. I keep getting that wrong. But thank you, ladies, for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Qov Rock Hill Foundation, we look for a closing all of the veterans across the United States, here in Rock Hill, and those who have served, and especially the veterans who never came home. God bless America, God bless you, and have happy holidays for the end of the year.